Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. This is where I watch every single play of every single game of every single week, trying to find you the fantasy football sleepers, the daily fantasy budget players, and everything in between. Today I'm going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots. Yes, I did watch every single play of that blowout. If I look a little bit tired, it's because I just took that all in. So let me just start with the Miami Dolphins. Look, everybody kind of knows that they're, trading their pieces away and everything. There's a little bit of a difference, I think, between a rebuild and post-apocalyptic wasteland. I think what we're seeing right now is the NFL version of whatever The Walking Dead would be in the NFL. This is bad. When Cleveland started accumulating picks with Shashi Brown a couple years ago, I was in favor of it, and I'm in favor of what Miami's doing. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. They just traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think they're getting another first-round pick. The Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills trade to Houston. Look, the bottom line is Miami fans, I'm sorry, but you understand that they weren't going to compete this year. And so having those veterans on your team, it really doesn't do any good for the long-term viability of the franchise. There's a little bit of a trend moving forward into getting older people on your team. Philadelphia and New England, I think, are the two oldest teams in the league right now, and they're very good. Adding veterans to a team that isn't great to begin with isn't going to do you any good. Going 9-7, going 8-8, going 7-9, that's not going to do you any good. It's just going to keep you in the cellar. Miami, you have to do it. You have to rip the Band-Aid off. But let me get to the game analysis. So Ballage got the start. Kenyan Drake still looks like the better running back, but when they're down by so much, they can't be factors. It does look more like a 50-50 split. They are getting, they're involved. They're both involved in the passing game. They're both getting touches, but they're just not moving the ball. It looks like Miami's offensive line is being overpowered every single game. I think the Dolphins, by the way, have started the season being outscored. I think it's 102-3 in 2 games. It's bad. I'm trying to find some room for optimism. Josh Rosen looks good. At this point, I think Miami's really only bringing him in the game late to throw an interception. I think they really just need to keep him on the bench. Maybe give him a quarter. I guess it doesn't hurt anything other than confidence. But, he did have a couple of drops. Miami's receivers need to step up if they're going to be viable. But let's put this in context. They did start with a very charged up Baltimore team, and then they played New England, who's definitely one of the top handful of teams in the league. Things will get better this season, but if they don't, then those draft picks that you have just get a little bit better. The key is what Shashi Brown couldn't do in Cleveland. The key is that all of these draft picks that Miami is accumulating, you have to make them count. We'll see how that pans out. You build the lines, you build the defense. I would say a bright spot at this point is Preston Williams. I do like what he's doing, but again, I think he had a drop or two. I think he might have had one of the deep passes that Rosen threw that was a really nice ball, kind of bounced off. Jakeem Grant, he was utilized a little bit more in this game, which is nice. But, Miami, if you're relying on the Miami Dolphins to carry your fantasy or your daily fantasy football team, you might need to find a different strategy. I don't even think I would invest in any of these Dolphins as daily fantasy budget plays or sleepers. If you're going to look for one, it would be Devontae Parker, whose value I'm sure is decreasing as the weeks go on. Let's move it to New England's. I said last week this team, with the addition of Antonio Brown, they're a team that was built for power running, and now they can beat you passing. I still agree with that. Let me say this. The Antonio Brown experiment in New England, court system and all these awful allegations, everything aside, it will work. If you are a fantasy football player and you have an ability or an opportunity to acquire Antonio Brown in a trade, you should probably do so. He had 1 touchdown. He was looked at, I think, 8 targets. I think he might have actually led the receivers in targets. 4 catches. It could have easily been 6 catches with 2 more touchdowns. It's going to work. As he and Tom Brady learn a little bit more about each other and acclimate together, it's going to work. So if you hate the Patriots, if you hate Antonio Brown, I get both of those sentiments. But reality is reality. He's going to find the end zone in the system. Josh Gordon looked okay. Had some targets, didn't bring in a lot of passes. Edelman's always going to move the sticks. So if you're in a PPR league, he's always going to be great. My worry with the Patriots, let me just start with kicking. Gostkowski looks really, really shaky. If you're playing like FanDuel and you're inserting kickers in that lineup, I'd be a little bit concerned about him. His accuracy is just off, and he hasn't been the most accurate guy, I don't think, in the last couple of years, or at least as accurate as you're accustomed to seeing him. But that's really my only criticism of New England at this point. At running back, Sony Michel, he fumbled the ball. Last I heard, the Patriots had him on a jet to North Korea. I believe he's going to be serving some prison time. In reality, this is a situation in New England. You fumble the ball, you might not even see the field until somebody else fumbles the ball in front of you. So I own Sony Michel in my league. He's by far the best running back on this team. But you fumble the ball, you hurt. Your playing time hurts. James White got a touchdown after that. That could have easily been Sony Michel's touchdown. That's what happens in New England. You fumble the ball, you get punished. So it would not shock me in the least for Damian Harris to be active next week and get more carries. It would not shock me in the least for James White to be a lot more active in the game plan next week. They still have Burkhead. There were 7 Patriots, including some of the receivers, to get carries in this game. 7. So Sony Michel, you got to hold on to that ball, man. Please, for me, if not for me, for everybody else there that has Sony Michel. Let's see. Tom Brady, you would think that the Patriots, and one of the things I said, because the Patriots were 19-point favorites in this game, and I thought, with Flores being a guy who was in New England over the time, and basically the whole coaching staff in Miami is New England alumni, so I thought maybe the Patriots would take their foot off the gas. And they did so. I think at halftime it was only 13-0. They weren't really moving the ball. Well, Tom Brady was still in the game. I think it was like 37 to nothing with like 5 minutes left in the game. At that point, Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, you might want to take Tom Brady, your franchise quarterback. You might want to take him out of the game. The game is no longer in doubt. You might want to rest him. Get your backup quarterback some reps. I don't know. I think it's goofy to have Tom Brady finish that game out. You should probably protect him. But, they put another touchdown up. I think it was that James White touchdown. So there you go. Defensively, offensively, this team is already gelled, already together. When the Patriots are good in the month of September, this is the kind of team that goes 13-3, 14-2. Like I said, to start the season, they can beat you running, and with defense and with this passing game, this passing attack now, they're going to be viable. This offensive line's only going to get better throughout the season. Really, it's time to circle, as NFL fans, it's time to circle the calendar for that Patriots and Chiefs game. And I don't know the date yet, but I'm going to go find it because that is going to be a hell of a matchup. And those are the 2 best teams at this point in the AFC West, especially with the Roethlisberger injury and with the Andrew Luck retirement and all that stuff. This thing is really kind of stacking up towards a rematch of the AFC Championship, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, please, for our videos, like, subscribe, comment. If you could subscribe, we're really trying to get to our 1,000 subscribers. If you could watch our playlist, the subscribe button, there should be an arrow, like a red box in the bottom right. You can also hit our logo in the top left. You can get subscribed in either one of those areas. Also, we have a playlist. We need to get a certain amount of hours too, so that we can put some of that nice Google, that nice YouTube money back into the channel and advertise and grow this thing. So we'd appreciate your support. For now, just stay tuned for another episode. We appreciate it. Thank you.